Verses are similar as in previous. The story of the set of petas. While the teacher was staying at Jetavana monastery, he told this story. At Salitthika, it is said, there was a set of irreligious people who had no faith and were possessed of the sin of avarice. They were indifferent in their lives as to the ideas they accepted and other matters. After having lived for a considerable time they died and were reborn as petas near the city. Then one day as the venerable Mahamoggallana was going to Salitthika for food, he saw the petas by the way and asked them, "You are naked and ugly in form. You are emaciated and have prominent veins, your ribs stand out and you are thin. I ask you, who are you, sirs?" "Petas." "We, venerable sir, are petas, miserable denizens of Yama's world. Since we were guilty of wicked deeds, we went from here to the region of the petas." Mahamoggallana. Now what sin was committed by body, speech, or mind? In consequence of what deed have you gone from here to the world of the petas? Petas. We have been loitering for a fortnight at the public landing places. We have not made for ourselves a refuge by means of good gifts. The river we approach in fear. It becomes empty. The shade on hot days we approach. It is turned into heat. A flaming and burning wind blows over us. Reverend sir, we deserve this affliction and more than this. Hungry and craving for food we travel yojanas. We return without having often anything at all. Alas! We have little merit. Famished and fainting with hunger, reverend sir, we are dropped down to the earth. We are stretched out and lie sprawling. We fall down head first. And so we drop down in pain to the earth, we beat our breast and head. Alas! We have little merit. Reverend sir, we deserve this affliction and more than this. We have not made for our elves a refuge by means of good gifts. Verily when we have gone from here and are reborn in the human state, we will be generous. We shall be devoted to virtue and accomplish much good. The elder told the affair to the Lord Buddha. The story of Pataliputra. While the teacher was staying at Jetavana monastery, he told this story. It is said that a good many merchants from Salitthika and Pataliputra sailed to Suvarnabhumi. There one of their member, a sick lay disciple who was attached to a woman, died. Although he had done good works, he was not born in Deva world, but on account of his affection for his loved one he was reborn as a Renanshan peta out in the midst of the ocean. In that place he retained his love for her. She on her part took ship and went on a journey to Suvarnabhumi. Now this peta, wishing to gain her, stopped the course of the vessel. Then the merchants revolved in their minds. Well, now, how's this? This ship doesn't move. So they drew lots to determine. Through non-human potency the lot fell thrice upon no other than this woman for whom the peta was yearning. When the traders saw this, they let down into the sea a bamboo raft on which they placed the woman. No sooner than had she been let down the ship rapidly proceeded in the direction of Suvarnabhumi. Then the non-human took the woman in his mansion and found happiness with her. After the lapse of a year she became dissatisfied and begged to the peta, saying, "As long as I dwell here, I cannot make the other worlds my quest. Please, sir, take me to Pataliputra." In response to this request, he replied, "You have seen the hells, the realm of beasts, petas and asuras, also men and devas. You yourself have observed what are the results of one's own deeds. I will take you go to Pataliputra in safety. Upon your arrival there perform good acts." She was delighted and replied, "You are my well-wisher, Yaka. You wish good for me at heart, O Deva. I shall do your word. You are my teacher. I have seen the hells, the realm of beasts, the petas and asuras, also men and devas. You yourself have observed what are the results of one's own acts. I will do many a meritorious act." Thiel the peta took the woman and travelled with her through the air. He placed her in the center of Pataliputra and went his way. After that, when her kinsmen, friends, and others saw her, they rejoiced and remarked, "We heard that some time ago you were cast into the ocean and perished. Well, and to think that all have returned safely." So they asked her about her adventures. She told them all. Those merchants on their return to Salitthika told the teacher the story of the mangoes. While he teacher was dwelling at Salitthika, he told this story. At Salitthika there was a certain householder whose wealth was exhausted. His wife died, and he, leaving his one daughter with a friend, borrowed some money, bought wares to the amount of 100 kahapanas, and set out with a caravan load do business. In a very short time he got back his capital and gained in addition 500 kahapanas. Thereupon he went homeward, but was beset by robbers. The traders fled here and there. But this householder, throwing his coins into a bush, hid himself. The robbers, however, found him and killed him. On account of his lust for wealth he was reborn as a peta in that very spot. The daughter to his memory presented rice gruel in a bronze dish and mangoes to the Lord Buddha, praying he would accept it as from her father. From the merit of that donation, the peta obtained a fine mansion. The traders, later repeating that journey, and halting for the night at the same spot, saw the peta and questioned him. "Here you have a very delightful lotus pond with an attractive landing place. Its banks are level, and it has abundant water. It is full of blossoms which are dotted with a swarm of bees. How did you get this alluring pool? Here you have this very charming mango grove which bears fruit in all seasons. It is full of blossoms which are dotted with a swarm of bees. How did you obtain this mansion?" Peta: "My daughter made a gift of ripe mangoes, water, and rice gruel. On that account, I am allowed to have here the pleasant cool shade." Then the peta gave them the 500 kahapanas, saying, "Take half from here, and after having explained this portion of my gain, hand it over to my daughter with the words, 'Live comfortably.'" The traders in due course reached Salitthika, told the daughter of this matter, and placed in her hands the full amount which her father had given her. She handed it over to her foster father. But he restored it to her with the words, "This shall belong to no one but you," and he made her the wife of his eldest son. In the course of time, she gave birth to a son whom she persuaded with this stanza: "Behold the reward, even in this life, of a gift, of self-control and of restraint. I was a maidservant in worthy families. Now I am a daughter-in-law and the mistress of a house." Then one day the teacher, who had observed her maturity of perception, sent forth a radiant image of himself, and standing as it were in her presence, he revealed himself. On this occasion he spoke this stanza: "The righteous overcomes the unpleasant by what seems pleasant, the unloved by what seems loved, the ill by what seems happy." The story of the axle and the tree. While the Lord Buddha was dwelling at Salitthika, a certain lay disciple there filled some carts with wares and went to Videha to do business. There he had disposed of his goods. He loaded his wagons with return wares and proceeded on the road for Salitthika. As he was journeying along in a forest, the axle of a cart broke. Now a certain man who wished to get a tree, took his axe and hatchet and set out from his village. As he was walking around in the forest, he came to this place and saw the lay disciple dejected on account of his broken axle. He felt pity for him and cut down a tree, and having made a strong axle, he fitted it to the cart without charging him anything. But later on he died and was reborn in this very spot in the forest as an earth deva. As he considered his deed, he went by night to the house of that lay disciple, and standing at the door, spoke this stanza: "What he gives becomes not just that. Just give the gift. Giving he traverses both. By it he goes to both. Be not slothful." When the merchant got back to Salitthika he told this to Tb. Teacher. The story of wrongly collecting of wealth. While the Lord Buddha was staying at Bamboo Grove, at Rajagaha, 4 women with false measures and other ways dealt in ghee, honey, sesame oil, grain, and other articles of food. During their lifetime they unwisely amassed riches. So after death they were reborn as petas at a trench outside the city. At night they were overwhelmed with misery, and with a loud and horrid noise they wandered around, lamenting. We gathered wealth justly and unjustly. Others enjoy it. Sorrow is our portion. When the people heard this, they were greatly frightened, and in the morning, bringing a large gift, sat down near the Lord Buddha and told him of the cries. He repeated the petas verse and told how they had lived. The story of the guild leader's sons. The Lord Buddha was dwelling in Jetavana monastery at Savatthi. At that time while Pasenadi, king of Kosala, in fine array, was once riding on his elephant about the city with power and majesty, he saw at the upper story of a certain house a lady looking down, beautiful as a deva nymph. His heart was captivated because his mind was trifling, high nature and hard to tame. So he gave a sign to a man who was sitting next him. Also see link Khuddhaka. Link Khuddhaka. But with this difference. Here the man arrived actually before sunset, but the city gate was closed. So he fastened to the post of the city gate the red earth and the blue lotuses which he had brought, and went to the Jetavana. Now while the king was reposing he heard in the middle watch these 4 syllables. Sa-na, do, and so loudly and painfully uttered. The king was exceedingly scared, and at daybreak he told his priest what happened. The priest, anxious to make some gain, said, "Sire, alas! A great calamity has appeared. Perform the complete 4-fold sacrifice. Sacrifice of 4 animals/birds of every type." And the king commanded this. When Malika, the queen, heard this, she thus addressed the king. "Why, sire, upon hearing the word of a Brahmin, do you wish to perform a deed involving injury and slaughter of many creatures? Now the Lord Buddha, who in knowledge and conduct is without a comparison, should be consulted. And as he will explain, so you should act." Then the Raja went to the teacher and told him the affair. The Lord Buddha said, "Great king, you are in no danger on that account," and narrated from the very beginning the affair as the cry of men reborn in the Luhakumhai hell. Then he told him in full the stanzas which they had started to utter. Sa for them who have been tormented in hell for full 60,000 years, in all. When will there be an end? Na there is no end. When will come the end? No end is seen. Hence verily, sir, you and I have done wrong. Do a miserable life we led, since we donated not what was there. Things to give at hand, no refuge for ourselves we made. So indeed, when I have gone from here and am reborn a man, I will be generous, eminent in morals, I will work much good. The story of the 60,000 hammers. While the teacher was living at Veluvana monastery, he told this story. Once upon a time there was in the city of Benares a certain cripple who was good at slinging stones. The story is told in Jataka. Salitthika-jataka. The essential part is told in the verses. Then one day, as the venerable elder monk Mahamoggallana was coming down from Vulture's Peak, he saw the peta and asked him, "I ask you now, why do you run around as if mad like a stray deer? No doubt it was a wicked deed. What do you believe about it?" The peta replied, "I, reverend sir, am a peta, a wretched denizen of Yama's world. Since I committed a sinful act, I went from here to the region of the petas. 60,000 hammers complete in all way pound upon my head and split my skull." The elder continued, "Now what wrong was perpetrated by body, word, or mind? In consequence of what deed have you gone from here to the realm of the petas? So that 60,000 hammers complete in all way pound upon your head and split your skull." Peta. Now I saw Suneta, a Buddha, made perfect in faculties. He was seated at the root of a tree, self-absorbed and fearing nothing. I hit him with a slingshot and split his head. Because of that deed I will be suffering this misery. 60,000 hammers complete in all way pound upon my head and split my skull." Upon hearing this, the elder explained, saying, "Wicked man, it is due to Dhamma that 60,000 hammers pound upon your skull and split your head.